to construct climate resilient and green schools, integrate climate change in school curricula, and provide climate early warnings to schools. Starting with 3 countries, Cambodia, South Sudan, and my country, Tonga. The project will increase the resilience of their education systems through retrofitting and constructing greener and more climate-adaptive schools in line with international comprehensive school safety framework. Our government support the PRAISE project, which will help a further 20 countries with technical assistance and readiness support to help them access climate finance for the education sector. Ladies and gentlemen, in Tonga, we welcome this initiative and thank the Green Climate Fund, the Global Partnership on Education, and Save the Children for taking the initiative and catalyzing flows of climate finance for this essential but neglected sector, the education sector. My country, Tonga, is highly vulnerable to the impact of climate change. Our people and children suffer from the escalating extreme weather events like cyclones, extreme rainfall, and sea level rise, which also affect our school buildings. Just one example, back in 2018, Tropical Cyclone Kita damaged 109 out of 150 schools on our main island, 73% of our schools. For every child in Tonga who had the chance to attend school, another child was denied that opportunity because of climate change. My friends, who decides which child is entitled to an education, let alone quality education, and which child misses out? Every child has the right to a quality education. Every child has the right to go to school and fulfill their potential. And with the help of projects like PRAISE, we can ensure all schools in Tonga and in many countries around the world are built stronger and smarter to withstand the effects of climate-induced disasters. But we can't do this alone. We are calling on international community to act now. Tropical Cyclone Kita damages and the losses was about 36% of our GDP, according to the World Bank. Rebuilding school was just one of many competing priorities in our recovery. We managed to get the student back to the classroom and some normalcy after 2 years. We know there will be more intense cyclones in the future. The World Bank Multi-Hazard Risk Assessment found 92% of school building portfolio was at high risk to at least one natural hazard. Without intervention, disaster will result in 400,000 student days lost for the next 30 years. Ladies and gentlemen, imagine the cascading generational impact of severely disrupted learning due to extreme climate events every second or third years. Our government is putting climate change high on our political agenda. We see climate change as the single biggest issue that will determine the future of Tonga over the coming decades. Our government already took significant steps to strengthen the climate resilience of our education sector, focusing on climate-resilient school facilities, incorporating resilience to climate change into all our curriculum at all levels, primary, secondary, and tertiary education, and adopting our school safety handbook and developing school safety, self-assessment, digital toolkits. Through our involvement in the PRAISE project, we will aim to significantly increase the resilience of our education sector and help ensure our children understand how climate change will shape their futures and what they can do about it. Ladies and gentlemen, but what can they do would be limited, as their learning would be severely disrupted. If they can't go to school, if they are studying in makeshift classrooms or tents, or even studying under the shade of trees, this project will help make 4 million school children safer and more resilient. It will enable them to contribute more to shaping their future. And we are hoping this is but just the start. We encourage all climate vulnerable countries to work with the Education Ministry to ensure their children are safe and resilient. Ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, we hope our development partners and donors will step up with the Green Climate Fund, Global Partnership for Education, and Save the Children, and invest in our children's future, or should I say, invest in our future now. I thank you. Malo Pito.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for these insightful remarks. Your perspectives, coming from a young island state that is at the forefront of climate change, is a powerful testimony to our need to act now, thus further emphasizing our presence here at COP28, a COP of action. And echoing what His Excellency said, all children have the right to access quality education. Our second keynote speaker for the day is the CEO and Vice Chairman of Dubai Cares, His Excellency Dr. Tariq Al-Gurk, who will set the scene for an upcoming panel discussion right after, which positions climate education as a catalyst for climate change. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Good morning, Your Excellencies, honorable ministers, friends. I'm here today representing not only one organization or even one sector, but I stand here on behalf of the 1 billion children and youth whose voices remain unheard unless we recognize that they represent 1 billion promising solutions in the face of all global challenges, including the climate crisis. Climate change is a major threat to our existence, and as we come together to chart a way forward, we must reflect on our shared human history and remember that the infinite capacity of our collective humanity far exceeds the limitations that any global challenge may impose upon us. And it is this resilience and determination of humanity that has brought us here in the spirit of global cooperation to commit to inclusive, impactful, and sustainable solutions for people and planet. Today is a historic moment because for the first time in the history of this global conference, education is taking its rightful place as a key solution for accelerating progress towards climate goals. Our presence here today is a testament to the UAE's vision, the COP28's commitment, and Dubai Care's promise to amplify the integral role education plays in transforming the lives of the current generation and the future of the generations to come, who will inherit a suffering planet if we do not seize the powerful opportunity that exists at the intersection of climate and education. This is why the COP28 presidency entrusted Dubai Cares to lead global education efforts at this COP. Climate change is a by the people and against the planet problem. But the solutions so far do not recognize the role of people as catalysts for transformative change. People, including children, youth, teachers, parents, community members, as well as business and government leaders who make up the ecosystem around education and yet remain largely excluded from discussions on climate. These stakeholders are the missing pieces of the climate puzzle. This means that the future of green jobs and green economies for a green world is hinged on our ability to enable the same stakeholders to actively contribute towards climate action from a place of shared commitment to the planet that is only possible through a rewired education system. This is an achievable reality, but it demands the strongest commitment at the highest levels of leadership to make it possible. It is on us, as the education sector, to unite our efforts around concrete solutions, but it rests on you as heads of state and leaders with decision-making power to affirm the political will and commitment that is needed for these solutions to take root and nurture a climate-ready, a climate-responsive, and a climate-resilient generation of children and youth. And to achieve this, we invite you to join us at the Rewired Summit on the 8th of December here at the COP28 in the Green Zone, where we will be convening the education and climate sectors under one roof for one full day to showcase the win-win ideas and innovations that emerge at the intersection of climate and education. And as a glimpse into the powerful solutions that we are committed to showcasing through the Rewired Summit, I am proud to launch on this stage the first ever Global Education Solutions Accelerator in partnership with the Aga Khan Foundation to make education transformation for a sustainable future an achievable reality for every country in the world. The accelerator is an innovative mechanism that embodies Dubai Care's 16 years of hands-on experience that will help countries fast-track progress towards 2030. And in its first phase, we will take the accelerator across 10 countries, which means 2.1 billion people will benefit from both short and long-term gains of a transformed education system. I want to conclude, Your Excellencies, by emphasizing that the urgency of the climate crisis requires us to work at the speed of light, to expedite the implementation of solutions like the accelerator. Any delays in our action from this point onwards will result in irreversible consequences for people and inflict irreparable damage on our planet. So let's ensure that the 1 billion people, the 1 billion children who are currently at extreme high risk for climate change can inherit a world where opportunities for them to realize their full potential are also opportunities that propel our planet's prosperity to new heights. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Tariq for emphasizing the critical role of education in climate action, and congratulations on the launch of the accelerator. Now joining Dr. Tariq is our moderator, Dr. Andrew Cunningham, who is the Global Lead on Education in Aga Khan Foundation. Next is Professor Patrick Cohen, Chief Executive Director of the Global Center on Adaptation. I would also like to call Mr. Henry Gonzalez, Deputy Executive Director and Chief Investment Officer of the Green Climate Fund. And last but not least, Ms. Kitty van der Heyen, Assistant Secretary General, Deputy Executive Director at UNICEF. Thank you.
Patrick, right here. Wonderful. My name is Andrew Cunningham, the Global Lead of Education at the Aga Khan Foundation. It is my privilege to welcome you to one of my favorite topics, transformation in education as a catalyst for action. Here's what we know. Half of the world's national curriculum still do not mention climate change. 95% of teachers want to teach about climate change, but only a third report having the confidence to do so. But most strikingly, 70% of young people report that they are not learning what they need to combat climate change in the current schooling system. With that, I would like to ask the first question to my esteemed panelists. It's straightforward and a 1-minute response. What should we be doing differently in climate education, and why does this matter for the COP28 agenda? I'd like to start from UNICEF with Kitty, please. So we're just, no, we'll just wait for the microphone. There we are.
Now it makes sound. So first of all, thanks to UAE and very happy celebration, 52nd year. What a pleasure it is to be here. But at UNICEF, we don't just want happy UAE, we want happy children everywhere. And happy children means that they don't just survive in the face of climate change, but that they thrive. And what that means is that we have to bring climate change and education together. And I'm so incredibly privileged to be here. Thank you, Dr. Tariq, our host, because this is the first COP where finally we're bringing education and young people together in the context of climate change. Why does that matter? Well, because 50 million children every year are seeing their education disrupted because of climate-induced disasters. What that means isn't just a temporary reduction. It leads to lifelong disruption of learning and 15% lifelong earning loss. We have to enable, equip, and empower children to take the future into their hands. Our generation here messed up. By the time we're pushing up the daisies, children will have to live with the consequences of what we do and what we do not do. And through education, we can actually bring change for young people and bring them on not as a victim, but as champions of climate action, as solution-oriented pioneers. That's what you saw in the video when we started. So we just have to make it work. And let's not forget that currently, out of all the climate finance in the world, I find this a compelling statistic, 1% goes to education. Now, if we want to equip and empower children in the face of climate disasters, that percent must rise as much as the temperatures are rising. So we better get going.
Thank you, Kitty. And on the topic of innovative climate financing, I want to turn the floor to Henry from the Green Climate Fund on this topic of innovative green financing. What could we be doing differently in climate education, and why is that an investment that is so important for us to make?
Thank you, Andrew. First of all, thank you to the COP28 presidency for putting education at the core of the COP. This is the first time in my several COPs that we have this opportunity, so indeed, a very deserving applause. As I was listening to Raoni and Sadi from the US told us that we fight too much, that we do not agree, that we do not partner. I am honored and privileged to be the father of 2 children. Ignacio, who is the climate delegate in his school, and Eunice, who keeps everyone in our household on check if we don't recycle properly. We are privileged that our children are able to do that, but we want that across every single child, because the future is of our current actions is our children. And as I was walking into this room, it said, action inspires hope. But I do think that we need to go beyond the hope and we need to really act. And I think, Andrew, to your question, climate finance has been overly fragmented. And I think we really need to strengthen our partnership model. We need to come together, and Honorable Prime Minister provided an example of several institutions coming together, and I'll speak about that in a moment. But we really need to change the paradigm. We need to change how we look at funding, but we also need to change how we look at climate. Climate and development are not things that could be different. They are intertwined. And I believe that we're seeing it today with this event, and we hope we're gonna see more, but not just gatherings, action. We heard the voices. We heard the voice of Ferdinand earlier, and we really are a bit late, but never too late to act. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And congratulations on your announcement and the country of Tonga for the leadership in terms of taking that action and making that connection between the climate and education agendas through innovative financing. Over to the Global Center for Adaptation. What should we be doing differently in climate education, and why does this matter for COP28?
Well, why does it matter? Because it's very exciting. First of all, education indeed was the poor cousin of the climate debate, no more so after today. The same applies to adaptation. For years it was the poor cousin of the climate debate, no more so today. But the challenge now is to combine and link education and adaptation. And why is that important? Because it's exciting. Story, Juveline from Cameroon, a waste picker. Her mother was a waste picker, her grandmother was a waste picker, and I met Juveline at the last COP in Sharm el-Sheikh. And she said, I've never gone to school. I did not have any education, but I have a dream. I have a dream. If I were to have one drone, with my drone I would fly over my city, and when the rains are coming and when the floods are rising, I will know where the waste is blocking the drainage. And with that drain, I can really send my waste pickers to unblock it. There is a business here to be made. So in the last 12 months, we supported Juveline to really build up her business. And now she has 60 people working for her. She's making money. But what if Juveline and the thousands and hundreds and thousands and millions of Juveline were educated on this particular topic? Would that be exciting? Kitty said about surviving and thriving. Juveline is thriving, and so should be the others.
Fantastic. You can pass that down. So we heard from Tarek that Jubilee could be one of those and is one of those 1 billion promising solutions. I want to now return us to the second question. So beyond the challenge, what is your action? We're here for the announcements. We're here for the big news. How is education a solution for the future of climate adaptation and climate mitigation? We'll begin with you, Kitty.
Thanks, Andrew. And I am so pleased to announce that on the 8th of December at the Rewired Summit, thanks to the leadership of Dr. Tariq, we will be launching what is called Green Rising. And what is Green Rising? Well, as temperatures rise, as sea level rise, young people will rise to the occasion. And we will equip them, 10 million of them, with gender-responsive green skilling. So Juvenile isn't alone out there, but we are creating an army of volunteers, of entrepreneurs to take action, to change the climate, to change the planet, to change their future. So it's green, it's better for them, and all of us will thrive. Green Rising, 10 million people on the 8th of December. Join us all for the Rewired Summit. That will be the moment of truth.
Fantastic. A round of applause. 10 million is not a small number. Henry, what is your big announcement for today?
So the Honorable Prime Minister provided a glimpse of this announcement. GCF is at the core a country-driven fund. It is the countries that want to meet their NDCs that call upon of what actions we should prioritize. And the three countries that have been pioneers on bringing education and climate together are the Kingdom of Tonga, South Sudan, and Cambodia. And these countries have partnered with an entity that is accredited at the Green Climate Fund, and that is the Save the Children Australia. And we are also leveraging in this spirit of partnership with the Global Partnership for Education in order to bring this 70 million funding proposal to hopefully reach 70 countries that are going to have climate and education at the core, from infrastructure to curricula to early warning system. So we are launching this here at COP, and we provided as well a project preparation facility grant to also allow the readiness of this initiative. These three countries are leading the way, but as I said, we hope to reach at least 20, and these 20 are countries that are vulnerable. Small island development states, least developed countries, African states, and other regions in the other parts of the world that are deserving our attention. So we're extremely excited that we're bringing this together. And we already had a conversation last Friday with Kitty also as how we could partner with UNICEF. I'm going to have a meeting also with Patrick on how the GCF and the Global Center on Adaptation can work together on technical assistance and ways. And we would love to continue working with Dubai in the COP28 presidency on finding ways that we could also serve the common objectives. So we're very excited and want to thank all our partners who are present, but most importantly, we want to thank the youth. It is your voice that while we could have heard it a little bit late, we are hearing it clearly now. And in the next programming cycle of the Green Climate Fund, youth has been now added as one of our core objectives of how we would like to reach the most vulnerable. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Henry. Just a year ago in COP27, there was a question of how can we get financing from climate into the education space? And within a year, you've done it with the partnerships. Congratulations. And we want you to meet everyone in this room to continue that movement. Thank you very much. And over to Patrick.
Well, yesterday it was a very exciting day. The day before, of course, it was a loss and damage facility. Again, historic, epic, even some folks said. But was it an epic outcome or was it a Pyrrhic victory? Would it come at the cost of something else? I mean, my proposition would be loss and damage, yes, absolutely vital, but let's not come at the cost of investing in climate adaptation. So yesterday, African leaders came together and they put on the table the Africa Adaptation Acceleration Program. It's the largest adaptation program in the world, $25 billion over 5 years. And in the first 2 years, $1 billion was already invested in education and jobs. Now what they committed yesterday is to double that in the next 2 years to $2 billion in education and jobs. That's one, I think, big announcement from these African leaders. Secondly, what I think is, as one of the children in the video said, it's important to really get on with it. That was basically the message from all these speakers before. Get on with it. We are getting on with it because in the coming months we're training 1 million Green Youth Army young people in Kenya to really drive this momentum. And lastly, Tariq, obviously we're very delighted to be part of your Education Accelerator and to partner specifically with you, because indeed we need to work together on this as soon as possible.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I also hope all of us remember the original green job on our planet, teaching. It's the profession on which all future green jobs will depend. So with the opening remarks and the action that you laid out, Tariq, if we could pass the microphone down, we want to give you the floor for the final remarks about what we can be doing moving forward.
Thank you. Just give me 1 second. That's $70 million commitment, right? Yeah, you forgot the word dollar. So it's a $70 million commitment from their side. So we just want to emphasize. Look, Andy, I am devastated of what's happening in the education sector globally. I've been in this sector for more than 14 years. I wish 17. We've seen the silos. We've seen the lack of collaboration at the highest level. We've seen agencies meet on board meetings, sitting together, giving 2 smiles, leaving and not talking to each other. I'm devastated to see how agencies who have been mandated with education fully are doing nothing about it. And it takes two foundations to team up to change that status quo, which is Dubai Cares and the Aga Khan Foundation. We will do it together through this mechanism of the accelerator. We have the Global Center on Adaptation coming to us to tackle the climate chapter into our accelerator, and vice versa. We will be feeding into their center when it comes to education. And I'll tell you, the future of education starts from this ground. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tariq. So in closing, I want us to imagine 3 things moving forward over the course of this week at COP, or this 2 weeks at COP. Imagine if teaching was the greatest green job of our time. Imagine if education was the planetary strategy that actually moves the needle on climate adaptation and mitigation and becomes a central solution for all the NDCs moving forward. And third, imagine if we got climate education right and the soaring new innovations that could come from the young people and actually swell our planet with pride and hope. On behalf of the world's teachers and students and communities, thank you to our panelists, thank you to your announcements, and thank you to the COP28 presidency and the UAE for putting education transformation as the catalyst for climate action. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you for the wonderful panel discussion. And as you heard it from our speakers, the 8th of December is yet to be a very special day here at COP28. Now, let's zoom into the UAE's efforts and the UAE's Ministry of Education and how they played a role in bringing education to COP28. Their tireless work to bring the Greening Education Hub to fruition is a testament to their dedication towards inclusivity. And to tell us more, it is my pleasure to invite His Excellency Dr. Ahmed Bilhoul onto the stage to give his remarks. Please welcome the UAE's Minister of Education on stage. Thank you.
Your Highness, Honorable Prime Minister, dear friends and colleagues, good morning, and thank you all for being with us here today. I was very happy to listen to our speakers talk about the importance of education, because we truly believe that in order for us to reach our targets, we really have to start at the schools. It's a mindset change at the end of the day. And maybe I can give a bit of context for the UAE, because we really saw that mind shift change in such short period of time of 50 years. 5 decades is not a long time. Our grandparents lived a very sustainable life only because they had no other choice. We only consumed whatever we required and nothing more. And then along came the wealth that we were fortunate enough to have. And when the generation was a bit more, I would say, spoiled. But I'm very happy now to see that the new generation right now is going back to their roots, going back to our core DNA, and becoming much more responsible. My own daughter gives me a hard time when we buy stuff, whether it's biodegradable or not. There's a lot of conscience being raised at schools. I'm very happy to see that. And we would love for that as well to be a global effort. And this is why, through this COP28, for the very first time, there's a big focus specifically on education. And for the very first time, we have a dedicated hub purely for education. The transformative potential of young people is undeniable. They're the ones who will make the change. And it really struck me home when I listened to the young girl saying, "Excuse me, but you have a few years left while we have a lifetime." That really struck home, because whatever we do today is for them. And therefore, again, investing in education, investing in teachers, providing the resources is that more important. Our country is an early champion of the UNESCO's Green Education Partnership that serves as a powerful catalyst on our journey, our shared journey towards an ever leaner climate ready. This year, we partnered with UNESCO and UNICEF to introduce a Green Education Partnership Roadmap. This aims to enhance the role of education in achieving sustainable development goals, including the climate agenda in the UAE's education system, and implement environment and climate-friendly initiatives. But the roadmap will always remain just a map if it's not complemented with concrete and consistent actions. To date, I'm happy to announce that 50% of all schools and campuses in the UAE have already registered in the green and sustainable programs and are working actively to obtain green accreditation as per their set plans. Today, over 2,400 teachers and 1,400 principals are already enrolled in phase 1 of their climate training programs. They are actively progressing as we speak today. Our target is to complete this before the end of COP28, and the next phase will follow shortly. We have also launched the Net Zero Heroes and the Education Voice Initiative that will make the voices of more than 70 students and teachers heard right here at COP28. If you get a chance to leave this blue zone, which is nice and cozy, and go to the green zone, which is more public, I'd hope to invite you to our education hub. It's under the title of The Legacy from the Land of Zayed. And if you're not aware, Sheikh Zayed is our founding father. He is the champion of sustainability. He's the one who has always been promoting sustainability to the state. And to this date, we always refer to him and his vision when it comes to balancing economic growth and living a sustainable life. Through this hub, you'll see we seek to seamlessly integrate education into the global climate dialogue. And we really want to bridge the gap between knowledge and action. We're also aiming to support international organizations, all shareholders from government, civil society, private sector, to ensure that climate action is an integral part of curricula around the world. Our contribution within this COP28 as the Minister of Education, along with our partners UNESCO and UNICEF, is to provide resources that inspire generations in the future. We are providing climate-related guidelines, resources, materials, and models that we have developed jointly to be provided both in English and in Arabic for countries around the world to be able to use. These initiatives are an integral part of the broader array of climate-related projects we are currently working on in the pipeline. In closing, I would like to reiterate the importance of international partnership in fighting climate change and fostering a collective commitment to sustainability on a global scale. In our journey towards a greener future, let's embrace collaboration as the cornerstone of progress, because together we can achieve so much more than being alone. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I must say, as a young and proud Emirati woman, I commend the efforts that the Ministry of Education is doing and for bringing upon and touching on our founding father, Baba Zayed. We now come to a historic moment and tradition of COP, the Global Youth Statement, which represents the consensus policy expectation of children and young people worldwide for COP negotiations. To deliver this year's statement, 2 members of UNGO, the official children and youth constituency of the UNFCCC, will join us on stage. Please welcome Mara Ghilani from Romania and Vikrant Srivastava from India. Thank you.
Dear global leaders, distinguished delegates, Your Excellencies, I am Mara Ghilan from Romania.
And I am Vikrant Srivastava from India.
We are here today on behalf of children and youth from around the world to defend our basic human rights and those of present and future generations. We are here to communicate our demands. The Global Youth Statement, a policy document that gathers the voices of children and youth from more than 160 countries, is the repository of these demands. It is a collective outcry for immediate and systemic action. It is a collective outcry for climate justice. We know our demands are feasible from a technical and financial point of view, but we need your political will. The decisions you usually make are based on cost-benefit analysis, but when it comes to climate action, I want to invite you to make a cost analysis, because the cost of climate action runs in the trillions when it's fully implemented, but the cost of climate inaction runs in the hundreds of trillions, and that's a whole lot more. If you are now refusing to politically and financially commit to climate action, you are leaving the difference for us to pay. And that is a big loan you are issuing in our name. And we, the children and youth, will not accept it. And in any case, can you put a price on all there is to lose? Can you put a price on human lives? 400,000 die every year because of climate-related changes. And 80% of those are children. I'll let that sink in for a second. This is bad enough for us to reconsider our ways. And far too bad for us to take even one more step in the same direction. You usually tell us that we give you hope, but we're not here to give you hope, nor are we here to pay the consequences of failed leadership. We're here to make you realize our world as we know is in your hand, and that you, Your Excellencies, have the power to build or to destroy. If you are a head of state and climate action is not one of your administration's priorities, you are failing your people. If you are prioritizing it, you are a builder of the livable, just, and prosperous future we know is within reach. Now is your time to choose. Will your legacy be that of destruction or that of regeneration? Will you be a destroyer of worlds or a builder of futures?
The world is watching you, waiting for your action and financial commitments, and so we are. We urge you to stay below 1.5 degrees Celsius. For this to become a reality, you must transform your words into action. You must reduce greenhouse gas emission by 45% by 2030 and reach climate neutrality by 2050. And countries in the global north must do it even sooner. You must commit to prioritizing grant-based funding in the recently operationalize loss and damage funding financial facility. You must bridge the funding gap between adaptation and mitigation initiatives. You must ensure a just, equitable, and a secure transition to a fossil fuels phase out. You must ensure youth, women, indigenous people, and all vulnerable communities are meaningfully engaged in national determined contribution and climate policy processes. We urge you to safeguard the transparency and accountability of the COP process. The setup of this COP and the past year COPs have provoked several conflicts of interest between fossil fuel corporation and political decision makers. We thought you knew it, but apparently we need to remind you that COP is not a space to seal the fossil deals. We will continue taking up space and making your voice and our voice heard until you truly listen and act on our demands. Our global youth statement shows that we will not remain silent until our demands are met. If all the demands of the global youth statement were honored, we would keep the global warming under the limit of 1.5. If all the demands of the global youth statement were honored, children, youth, and the future generation would thrive a healthier and livable planet. If all the demands of the global youth statement were honored, climate justice would be delivered. Our lives, the lives of billions of people lay in the decision of you and your delegation will make during these 2 weeks. Remember that your leadership is decisive and protecting us is your important duty. Choose wisely, you cannot fail us.
Thank you, Mara and Vikrant, for delivering the statement. And now it's my absolute honor to ask Her Excellency Shamma Al-Mazrouei, COP28 Youth Climate Champion, to come on stage and respond to the statement. Thank you.
Your Royal Highness, Excellencies, esteemed guests, and youth. The great songwriter Leonard Cohen said, "There's a crack in everything, and that's how light gets in." There is a clear crack and gap between youth and expertise and the access to climate education. The light here is education. It is capacity building. It is awareness. The COP28 presidency and the Youth Climate Champion team saw this crack as an invitation, as an opportunity to leverage the light to empower young people to accelerate climate progress. And the crack is not based on emotional beliefs or personal opinion. This conviction stems from facts. The Global Youth Statement presented by Youngo highlighted the unity, the action-oriented nature, and the curiosity young people have to find light and propel climate action. In the youth consultations that the United Arab Emirates team held over the past 3 years, and in the Global Youth Statement representing the voices of 750,000 young people from over 150 countries, who are all volunteers, by the way, we clearly see the gaps that they mentioned. One, lack of capacity building as one of the main challenges young people face. Lack of climate education has been almost the #1 barrier to meaningful youth participation in COP processes and negotiations. The insufficient accessible information on how to learn about the negotiations, what to do pre-COP, post-COP. Young people come to COP wandering around not knowing what to do. They are disheartened and puts themselves at a loss. The COP28 presidency looked deeply at these recurring challenges, and it questioned the status quo. The questions on our minds were, how can we address the root causes of this crack so that we don't face it again. Why are young people, for 27 times COP has happened, they keep experiencing this? How are we empowering young people with the knowledge to develop clear thinking about the issues at hand in climate, to understand what kind of behaviors or actions are necessary? How are we equipping young people to be the future green entrepreneurs in sustainability and environmental protection? So the answer was very clear. Empowerment through education is on the United Arab Emirates' radar. And when we mention education and capacity building, we mean deep knowledge, not superficial knowledge. The UAE doesn't do surface level. Superficial knowledge, let me explain, is like candy. Quick energy, and you get this rush, a sugar rush and crash. And with that, you get a drastic drop in your energy after a while. You get hungry again. This knowledge is short-lived. It's like memorizing for a test and then forgetting it. When we talk about climate education that the UAE is investing in, is deep knowledge. It's like high fiber food that sustains your energy. And that's the deep knowledge that the climate crisis requires and needs. A checklist is no substitute for thinking. We need young people to have a depth of thought and breadth of thinking when they solve the climate crisis. You can't solve a problem you don't understand. Defining the problem is a chance to take in a lot of information. And we're not talking about telling young people what to do. We want to empower young people to learn from diverse channels how one thinks about the climate problem. What are the variables to consider? How those interact over time. So what did the United Arab Emirates do? First, the COP28 presidency sought to advance global climate action through three main avenues: a commitment to financing the Green Education Partnership, showcasing best practices for climate education. I want to thank my colleague, the Minister of Education at COP28. The COP presidency also launched a green skills development platform. And what I love about this, because this is the COP28's legacy, it's not just for this COP, but it's for future COPs, and it's to equip educators and teachers and youth in the global south and small island developing states and least developing countries. Second, the Youth Climate Champion team launched the PAVE strategy, which focuses on spurring action and working on strengthening inclusion and participation of young people and ensuring we relay the voice of young people. But also the last important pillar is education. We understand that to truly deliver on all pillars, we need to empower young people with the right tools through capacity building and education. And we've partnered with the UNFCCC to elevate educational resources for youth worldwide, delivering open source climate education that will be permanently available on their website for all youth across all future COPs, covering topics from mitigation, adaptation, loss and damage, ACE, technology transfer, and the list goes on. We're also working, and we started live capacity building at COP currently in COP28. And I want to mention one thing. We have an international youth delegates program of 100 young people from SIDS and LDCs, from climate vulnerable communities, and majority of them are here. They flew from around the world. They got capacity building from Harvard, and they were trained throughout the whole year, not just for COP. And because they were fantastic, and because of the UAE's investment in these young people, a third of them were chosen to be part of their country negotiations team. And that's true inclusion. So just my final thought is education is the light in this crack. And let us invest in this light. It is the light of clarity and understanding. And we will have enlightened young people who will drive climate action with a bias for unity and a bias for innovation. They are our ever-present ray of light. And I know they will help climate unity and ambition to regain its glow and shine. I know that the United Arab Emirates wants to walk in their light. Thank you very much.
We'll take the floor. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for being the champion of youth at COP28. I would like to now invite you to the center of the stage, and I'll call on young leaders to join you in handing over the global statement. May I please have Ahmed Bassam from Jordan, Trina Shiemi from Japan, Emmanuel Judisia, UNICEF Child Delegate from the Democratic Republic of Congo, Mara Ghilan from Romania, and Vikrant Srivastava from India. Okay, great. After hearing the incredible story of the Global Youth Statement, we're excited to have a fireside chat, one that will unpack further details of climate ambitions amongst youth and leaders. I would like to invite His Excellency Dr. Tufua Panapa, Acting Secretary to Government and Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Education, Youth and Sports of Tuvalu. Patricia Longwani, a member of Yongo from Zambia, and Rifan Al-Gharous, a UNICEF child advocate from Libya. Just as an FYI, Rifan will be speaking in Arabic, so anyone who would like translation, please use the mics behind you. Thanks.
My name is Rifan Ahmed. I am from Libya.
You got it?
Now, Excellencies, all protocols have been observed. Now, it is great and also dangerous to be questioned by a young child. You know, you children should not stop speaking and questioning the adults. We will get what we used to get. I think what I'm going to propose is not a brand new idea at all, because, ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, we are about to run out of ideas. We have created and put forth many initiatives, frameworks, and of course, programs and policies to fight against climate change. And since the beginning of the climate change discourse. And what do we get? Not much. So I will not change or create a new policy item to save my country and other small island, Pacific islands and others. But I just want to strengthen and embrace the perspective that the youths have mentioned in their youth statement, and that is, in order to eliminate a problem, we need to look into the root cause, the main cause of that problem, which in our case is the global warming and then climate change. And when we talk about the root cause of climate change, we are talking about the production of fossil fuel. And I think the youth have mentioned that. And of course, we have to phase out the mining and production of gases and coals and stuff like that. We cannot stop global warming and climate change by building seawalls, by reclaiming land, or by trying to achieve the 1.5 degrees target. These are short-term responses, but will not stop global warming. To stop global warming and climate change, we have to consider phasing out the usage of fossil fuel and the production of fossil fuels. And children and youths, we should shift our march and advocacy around the just transition from fossil fuel or the phasing out of fossil fuel. We have to eliminate the root cause of climate change. This is the only way to save low-lying islands and of course the whole world.
Okay. Hello. Okay. So thank you very much, Your Excellency, for that very insightful thought process. And I think it speaks back so much more to the fact that we cannot talk about the disproportionate impacts of climate change on the most vulnerable frontline communities without talking about the children and the youth, because I think it's very clear that we are at the epicenter of the climate crisis. So that's, I think, something very, very insightful, and it's something that many leaders that are present here could actually implement and learn from. And while we're on the subject, could you also share some examples of some successful initiatives that have been held in Tuvalu that reflect and show your commitment to including children and youth in the diplomatic processes, especially with regards to climate change?
Now, let me start by quoting the UN General Secretary's, Mr. Guterres' observations when he visited Tuvalu in the past years. And he said, "Nowhere have I seen the heartbreaking impacts of climate change more starkly than in Tuvalu." And this is why the fight against climate change should be also the fight by the Tuvaluan children and youth. They should join the fight, because we are at the brink of being defeated. And we need more soldiers, and we need everyone to come on board. So going back to the question, I think the support and the blessing from the government of Tuvalu for the youths and the children to come to the COP meetings every year is one way that we expose our youths in climate diplomacy. You know, not only in COP meetings, but also in other climate change related meetings, we support our youths and children to go there. Either they speak or they perform a cultural item to show the whole world that those cultural practices and those beautiful faces can be lost to climate change. And just lastly, I just want to share a floating idea from the Ministry of Education, and I hope other small island countries will take that on board, and of course our development partners, if you could help. And this is the idea to mainstream climate change into the curriculum and deliver it as a standalone subject. And this has been a floating idea in our ministry, and I think we will take that forward. Because we are at the forefront, we need climate change to be a standalone subject, just like math, science, or those existing subjects. We believe that climate change should be a compulsory subject and to be delivered to the children. This is a catalyst to push that momentum, and it is also an opportunity for children to be climate advocates and of course diplomats while they are still young. They can be involved more and engage more with climate talks if they are given the opportunity to learn and understand more about climate change, while they are at a young age. Of course, we have climate change concept in the existing curriculum, but we believe that a standalone climate change subject will bring more weight to the understanding of our children about climate change. And this is the starting point, I believe, of their journeys as climate diplomats, anywhere they go. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much for sharing that. And first of all, congratulations for all the successful initiatives that you have had, because I think many of us would learn from that. And I think we're headed in the right direction when it comes to advancing the involvement of children and youth into value in the diplomatic processes. And I think that just also comes back to the Global Youth Statement and the demands that we have as children and youths of the world. And I think it's about time that parties, leaders, non-party stakeholders, it's time that they unleash the latent force of children and youth, because we're equal to the task. I think we have proven that time and again, in more ways than one, that we can do this. And one most evident example that we have is the delivery of the Global Youth Statement that we just saw here. Like the climate champion just said, we've had more than 750,000 submissions from youth from all over the world. And behind that, we've submitted more than 50,000 hours of voluntary work to bring this policy document here to COP28. So with all our evident efforts, by the way, we have more than 30,000 youths here present at COP. And we're not just here to attend side events and have fun and meet friends. No, we're here to have a seat at the table. We're here to make decisions. So I think the best way for you to honor our efforts is to fulfill our demands. I'm going to say that again because I think it needs to be heard more than once. The best way for you to honor our efforts as children and youth is to fulfill our demands. And these demands have been written in our Global Youth Statement. They revolve around access to climate financing. We need to be involved in diplomatic processes as decision makers, because the consequences of the policies that are being made today will be held by the children and the youth, as we watched in the videos at the beginning of the session. So I would just like to highlight again that as children and youth constituencies, we need access to funding, we need access to green jobs and decent jobs for that matter. We need prioritization of education and entrepreneurship, because education is not only a key driver of climate change, it is also a huge part of the solution, as it has been alluded already. So we cannot and we will not win the fight against climate change as long as we keep ignoring the prioritization of children and youth in this case. So thank you very much.
السيد رئيس وزراء دولة
Your Honor, the Prime Minister of Tuvalu, I am so sad for the impacts of climate change in Tuvalu and also what the children of Tuvalu are witnessing. My question to you is, if you have the power or the authority to change one global policy in order to protect your country and secure the future of its children, what would that policy be, and why will you choose that policy specifically?
Thank you so much. As I have mentioned before, now it's quite dangerous if you are questioned by a young child, and I think it is important that you children keep on questioning and pushing the adults. It will get it somewhere. But as I have mentioned, I think the looking at the main cause and looking at the core cause of climate change is something that I think if I have the power, I will look into that. It's very, very important, because no matter what we do, they are just short-term responses. Climate change and global warming will continue unless we stop the production of fossil fuel. And I think that the Paris Agreement only looks into the emission, the emitting of greenhouse gases, but it does not talk about the production of fossil fuel, which is the main cause of global warming.
في نهاية هذه الجلسة
By the end of this session, I want you to imagine with me that you plant a tree at COP28, and each tree you plant will help you take up an action towards climate change. What's the tree would you plant? We will plant a pine tree. My country is the sixth in the world that's threatened by climate change threats, and we want to commit for clean water for everyone as a right for them. And we all hear about climate change, but after the disasters that we witnessed recently, floods and fires and earthquakes, I believe this is called climate collapse. And I want to ask the leaders of the world, the earth has shaken. Were your feelings shaken towards children? The climate changed, and we have to change. We are little hands, but our hopes and ambitions for a better future and a better place to live are huge. Thank you.
I cannot agree more. Thank you so much for that. You children do have a new perspective, and you are smart and intelligent. You should continue doing that in COPs meetings. You will definitely convince the leaders. Thank you.
What an amazing 1 hour that we spent at this session, gaining different perspectives and insights from global leaders and youth. To reflect on COP, COP started in 1995. 2 years later, I was born. And in the 28th version of it, my home country is hosting it. We can all agree that children, youth, and educators are rising to the challenges of climate change globally. And my concluding question to you all, as a hopeful 26-year-old, is, will you rise to meet them? Thank you all so much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed this session. شكراً طويل العمر. مع السلامة.
السيدات والسادة، في ختام هذه الجلسة نشكركم على الحضور. نود أن نلفت انتباهكم أننا ندير جدولاً ضيقاً للغاية اليوم. يرجى مغادرة المسرح للسماح لنا بإعادة ترتيب القاعة. وشكراً.
Ladies and gentlemen, that brings this session to a close. Thank you for attending. May we bring to your attention that we are running a very tight program today, so we kindly request that you vacate the theatre. Thank you.